Alright guys, welcome to the Thrive Army training series. Right now we're going to be covering the RCMs, which is one of the methods that we use to create conversations that generate leads. So we're just going to jump right into it. So we're going to talk about why creating the conversation is so vital. It's because we really want to genuinely connect with people. We want them to like, know, and trust us because nobody really buys from people they don't know, like, or trust, right? No one's just going to stop and buy from a stranger that they don't already have a relationship with. And most of the time, we don't have a relationship with some of these people, so we have to really try to establish that. We also want people to see us as people, right? We don't want them to see us as a salesman. And also, conversations are the best way to gather information about how we can transition in a way that is relatable and natural to thrive and whatever our goal is, whether it's to help them become a customer or a promoter. And it helps us to do that naturally. So we want to create the conversation, but how do we do that, right? So first we have to make this, we have to do this intentionally. We have to set aside time to do it so that it's genuine and authentic. It's not rushed. We also want to pick specific people that we can identify with in some way, whether they are the same gender, they have the same hobbies, same interests, whatever the case might be, whatever you feel like would generate a genuine conversation from you that you could continue to engage in. So I guess RCM itself, what is it? Well, it stands for React and Comment Message. We usually like to follow the formula react and comment times 3 and then move into a message with the person. This method helps us to take conversations from like awkward, don't know this person, stranger danger, to something that is more engaging and generates leads out of complete strangers. We really turn the relationship up a million notches and make it so much easier to transition and talk about Thrive or even introduce the idea. And this method is also something that is going to create relative conversation so that we're not cold messaging people like they do in other companies, and it's just really a turnoff for a lot of prospects. So how do we go about using that? So step 1 is to go to a person's social media platform, Facebook, Instagram, find their 3 most recent posts within the last week. You don't want to go farther back than a week because you kind of look stalkerish. And you want to pick like 1 to 3 because maybe this person posts a lot, and you definitely don't want to do all of them in the last week because that also looks stalkerish. You want to react with one of those reaction buttons that are anything besides the like button, right? So the love, the laughing face, the mad face, whatever the case might be. We also want to comment genuinely, remember that word, we're going to be using that a lot, on their post or their picture, and try to engage in a conversation by asking a simple question. This is going to ask for a response, which is going to strengthen the algorithms on that social media platform, and also it's going to seem more genuine when you eventually do move into Messenger. So then step 4 would be to pick one of those posts and message them about it using a question in some way. So we're going to kind of talk about why that is and how we can do that. But first, why do you have to do all of that? Well, it increases your interaction algorithms on social media, so more people see your posts. It establishes a genuine connection with people, and it increases engagement. People love to talk about themselves, right? They want to talk about their world, not yours. So doing the react and the comment portion is great, but unless you do the messenger, it's altogether useless just because you're going to get stuck with low engagement because Facebook especially and Instagram is moving more into this as well, where they're considering messages a more genuine form of connection, and that is going to strongly tie them into your algorithms, which means they're going to see more of your stuff. Higher engagement means, a higher likelihood for transitioning a lead to a sale. So when messaging people, always end what you say to them with a question. That way you can create this volley back and forth that's kind of creating more engagement and not just talking at them. So when you're doing it, right, and consider you're doing RCM but you're not getting anywhere, So many people say they do them, but they don't do them really, or they don't properly use them. So chances are you're doing them either incomplete or incorrectly. And then we're going to go through some examples about how you could be doing either of these without realizing it. So an example of an incorrect RCM would be, your message is like, "Hey girl, I love your makeup in this picture," right? It's a statement. Well, chances are their response is also going to be a statement. "Thank you," right? Or something to that nature. This is a natural stopping point in the conversation when both of these are statements. There's no back and forth opportunity, and your conversation is basically over unless you pretty much reinvent another way to talk about something and ask a question. And then that person's going to be able to see right through it and feel like they know what you're up to. So let's think about how we could fix this. So, for example, you could instead say, "Oh my gosh, I love the way your makeup looks. It's so smooth and flawless. What foundation do you use? Is it the primer or setting spray? Whatever it is, I need your secret," right? So, one of the biggest things is don't open with "Hey girl" or "Hey man" or whatever, because that's very generic and it triggers a lot of people, because this is how a lot of cold messages start. So let's say that you say that. Their response could be, "Hey, thanks so much. It's actually the new Estee Lauder foundation. I love it. It's not too cakey and it is so smooth." You don't want to say, "Oh, thanks," right? You want to say, "It looks so stunning on you. Are you like a professional makeup artist?" Or something like that, because it's truly flawless, right? You want to ask another question. And you want to ask an open-ended question, which means that they're going to have an opportunity to tell you a story in some fashion. And I don't necessarily mean like tell you a story, like tell you their life story, but they're going to be able to give you something that's longer than just a one-word answer, right? So now let's move into what an incomplete RCM is. An incomplete RCM is basically when you end the conversation when you could keep it going. Basically, you're kind of doing it half-assed. So, right, we're going to go back to that original question, "Hey girl, I love your makeup. What foundation did you use?" Their response is going to be, "Oh, it's the Estee Lauder, actually. I love it because it's not too cakey and it's really smooth." Your response is, "Very cool. I'll have to get some, thanks." So you just basically let the conversation die. Like you chopped it right off before it ever got going anywhere. So remember to keep the volley going by asking questions, especially open-ended questions that ask them to tell a story. So here's an example of, a successful RCM. We already went through the top part, right? So we did this already a couple of slides back. But how do you introduce Thrive, right? We call this the transition. So let's say you say, "Oh, it looks so stunning on you. Are you a professional makeup artist? Because it looks absolutely flawless," right? Their response, "Yeah, actually I am. I've just been so busy lately with clients that it's hard to keep up." That is going to be your cue to start asking leading questions. Well, leading questions are basically questions that you guide the prospect on what you want them to answer. So you're basically asking them to give you specific answers that you're looking for, right? So we're going to bring it in this direction. "Wow, that's so amazing. I imagine those are long hours, huh? I bet you have like a Starbucks IV drip going at all times," right? Because we want to know how busy they are, how tired they are, do they drink coffee? I'm going to be able to get a lot of information in this single question, right? "Oh, yes, most people don't know how long it takes to do these sessions, and when I have back-to-back ones, I need all the coffee I can get," right? So we know that she's busy, she's tired, she relies on coffee. And then you can just say, "Oh my God, I know how you feel. When I worked my last job, I felt that way too. I was like, give me all the coffee, but like it never seemed to help the way I thought it did. I found I was just literally throwing my money away, but I still needed it. How do your hands not get shaky with all of that, right? All that caffeine. I have a hard time managing my winged liner without even drinking the coffee anymore," right? So here you can see the capitalized letters are feel, felt, found. This is what we call the 3 F's. It's kind of like your holy trinity when you are talking with people and trying to seal the deal. You can even use this multiple times in a conversation without it feeling scripted. So when you can say feel, it means you are identifying with them. When you use the word felt, it's validating their concern or what's happening with them. And when you say found, it's offering a solution, right? So I feel, I completely understand how you feel. I felt that way too, but I found ... right? You want to try to use those as much as possible, whether you're trying to overcome objections, you're trying to relate to your audience, whatever the case might be. And I asked her a leading question, so it got to let me know, she drinks coffee, she's tired. I'm not necessarily going to be like thrive, but I am going to start leading the conversation in that direction, right? Because I talked about how I don't drink coffee anymore. I talked about finding a solution. So here you can just take a moment to read all about transitioning the conversation, basically what we just went over. So if you need to pause it and take a minute to read them, you can go right ahead and do that. Same with generating them into leads. You're going to move them from your reach out list to your follow-up list, and this is going to help you stay organized with who you're reaching out to and who you're following up with. Keep in mind that reach outs are always people that you've never connected with in Messenger before, or at least that you don't talk to on a semi-regular basis, or that you've never talked about Thrive with. And follow-ups are people not necessarily following up with them about Thrive, but following up on the relationship. And when you follow up, you still use the RCM. So when you're going to do your follow-up list, you still go back in, you do the react and comment times 3, and you're going to move into Messenger, and you're basically just going to be following up with their relationship. Here are some common RCM mistakes, right? We talked a lot about those throughout the examples, right? Using the hey girl, you're not asking enough questions, you're talking too much and you're not listening for the clues that they're giving you. You're asking closed-ended questions as opposed to open-ended questions, or you're going straight for the kill way too soon, right? You're giving them your link, you're telling them about Thrive, which is great intentions but poor execution. So I hope you guys found that helpful. Definitely go in and screenshot any of these that you need, because sometimes RCM can be pretty confusing for people, especially if it's the first time you're using it, but it can be incredibly helpful and go from stranger to lead to customer in a matter of days.